Hey, what's happening? This is your host Tinto, and before we get started on this weekend's episode, I'd like to give a shout out to the following who gave to the podcast. Tatenda, for your generosity, thank you so much, and your comment there is a small token of appreciation for the work you put into the podcast. The one and only Teacher Today Bogus coming through as usual. Thank you very much for your contribution. And last but not least, Runya, thank you so much for your generosity, and your comment there reads, I don't know what's going on, but can we have the next episode, please? Well, just so you guys know, it was half term last week and I had gone away for a trip with my family, and I just didn't have time to do the episode. But I'm back and I'm getting this over to you. I know it's midweek, it's Wednesday, but it's better late than never. And you guys know that in 2 days you're getting another one anyway. No, not 2, 3 days you're getting another one. So hey, kind of works out for y'all. If you'd like to give to the podcast in a similar manner, please head over to www.buymeacoffee.com/feelingstation and give as your spirit leads. Remember, there is nothing too small to support the podcast that you've grown to love. With that out of the way, let's get straight into this week's episode. Is that a breakup?
I think we have a situation right here.
On the Feeling Station.
Welcome to The Feeling Station, a podcast that touches on romantic, family, and friendship breakups that people would like to talk about with a view to give lessons that they learned from their experiences. I hope you find the story entertaining, but more importantly, meaningful given everything my guest is going to talk about today. Now, the podcast is popular for two main reasons. The first one being I try and keep my guests anonymous, which brings me to the fun part for me personally, right? This is the part that I give you the name you're going to use for the duration of the episode. And your name comes from the Igbo tribe of Nigeria. I don't even know why that's what right? It comes from the Igbo tribe, right? And the name is Amadi, Amadi. Yes.
Why did you choose that name?
Well, because for me, being non-Nigerian, it just looks nice, and it rolls off the tongue quite nicely. Amadi. Yeah.
Interesting.
And what that means is free man. Now, how relatable is that for you as far as this story goes? Do you feel generally like you're a free man, or do you feel you're captivated by your thoughts, your emotions, your experiences? Do you genuinely feel like a free man?
I think those are the things that make me free.
Really?
Yes.
So you are a free man?
I am a free man.
Meaning that the name is relatable.
It is very relatable.
See why I chose the name now, bro.
Wait, I have to ask you, what made you choose that name? What is it that you know about me?
Honestly, hand on heart,
Yes.
Absolutely nothing. And this has been a trend on the podcast.
Wow.
And some people now think I'm a clairvoyant or something. But honestly, it's the luck of the draw.
Yes.
I just go on to Google, search for African names, for male or female African names, boom. And the one that feels like it rolls off the tongue nicely is the one that I work with.
That is amazing because one of the things that makes me free is the fact that nothing controls me.
Nice.
Not my environment, because I feel like if I mean, you know this already. One of the things that that I did mention when you first came in was the fact that I have no TV.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's a very good reason for that.
Yeah,
and that's to be able to have that freedom
of thought.
And not influenced. So if I want information, I don't want it pushed onto me.
You make the effort yourself.
I make the effort myself to go find what I want, not just absorbing what is being pushed at.
And that is why you've been called Amadi. So remember that.
I'll remember that forever.
Now, here's something I didn't give you a heads up on. And that was very deliberate because I like putting you on the spot occasionally.
Interesting.
What are you going to call the woman you're going to talk about?
Ooh.
Because we have to keep her anonymous too. What name are you giving her?
Is it the woman or the woman?
Ooh. I like where this is going already. Well, let's give the women the names, yeah.
You know what? What I'll do is, let me see.
Mm-hmm.
I might talk about 3 women.
Lord of mercy. Is your middle name Player by any chance?
Actually, it's not. And I can't be a player. It's not something that I can do because I will fail at that game. I will fail at that game woefully. And I will be caught the first day I start to play.
Yeah. Stay away from the game.
I'll stay away from the game.
If you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen.
Get out of the game. Exactly.
So what are you calling the first female?
Okay, let's see. Does it have to be an African name?
It's entirely up to you.
Eve.
Eve. First woman on planet Earth. Was she the first woman to break your heart by any chance?
Interesting question. My heart is not easily broken.
But that doesn't answer the question.
No, she wasn't.
She wasn't.
No.
Okay. First one is Eve.
Yeah, first one is Eve.
Second woman. I've not known a man struggle to say a woman's name like this in my life.
I almost used the real name, but thank goodness I didn't do that.
Yeah.
Let's call her Jennifer.
Okay, Jennifer. And the last one.
F-A.
E-F-E?
E-F-E.
Good. So, out of curiosity, and I won't go down this rabbit hole so early, the first two have got Anglo names.
Yes.
Is that a reflection of their color by any chance?
No.
So why those?
All three of them are Africans.
Mm.
Yeah. And the reason I chose Eve for the first one
Yeah.
was because of Eve's mischievous nature.
Okay. Grabbing the fruit.
Grabbing the fruit and deceiving her husband to take the fruit.
So was Eve a bit deceptive?
A bit, yeah, you could say a little bit more than a bit deceptive, yes.
And Jennifer?
Jennifer, she was trying to fulfill a fatherly need in her.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. She didn't get on too well with her dad.
Okay.
Yes, there was she loves older men. Do that way. But, she was in her 30s, I'm in my 40s.
Mm-hmm. Which makes you an older man, so where was the problem?
It makes me an older man.
So where was the problem? Or maybe don't tell me, we'll delve into that as we speak about the episode.
Okay.
I'll move on to the last name, Ife.
Ife was my first wife. The one I thought we would, conquer the world together.
Mm.
Yes.
So out of curiosity, is this one story or three stories?
They would all merge at some point.
And the man says his name is not player in there somewhere. Anyway, I'll move on to the second reason why the podcast is doing great. It really does great because there are real life lessons that people will learn from the story that you're going to share. So, you got any lessons for people to pick up from your episode?
Yes. Number one, you have to listen to yourself.
Nice.
Number two,
Mm-hmm.
assess every situation you encounter in life because there's a reason why everything happens.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, I would say, just be the driver of your own destiny, not family, not friends. And I'll talk about a lot. I'll talk about the third one a lot because that did influence me a lot in my life earlier.
Nice. So this story, again, is about Amadi and three women, Eve, Jennifer, and Ife. So I'm guessing we're going to talk about Eve first.
Eve was the dominant one.
Was the dominant one. So now tell me something, Amadi. How did you meet Eve and why did you decide this is the woman that I want to be with?
Interesting. Eve was a child who, I wouldn't say first love, but, when I was younger, we did, we were in a relationship earlier before I left for the UK.
Mm-hmm.
We lost touch. Well, relationship ended. It was broken up.
When we say childhood, what age are we talking here?
I was 24.
That's not really childhood, though, isn't it? That's
not childhood.
Young adult love.
Young adult love. Yeah. No. Wait. No, sorry. I left at 24.
Mm-hmm.
I was. I think I met her when I was 20. She was about 18. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that feels younger.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. At that time, there was no purpose to the relationship, and we're just trying to obviously, go through what young people go through.
Mm-hmm.
But I did like her. I kind of felt we had a communication, a connection somehow. But she was young and, was still finding her way in life.
Mm-hmm.
Relationship ended. Actually, I remember something that happened one time. I was with her at one point. I think I had just taken her home and I was standing out, in front of a house, and a car drove by, and there were some girls out in the car, and who looked at me and was smiling at me. So I smiled back. And what did she do? She slapped me.
Of course, I would slap you too.
Why?
What you talking about?
Excuse me,
Listen.
But I'm just returning the gesture, though.
You don't have to return the gesture.
Why?
One, did you know the women that were smiling at you?
I didn't know them,
so
but
why
they
are you
smiled at
returning the
me.
gesture?
It's like someone saying hi to you and I'm saying hi back.
If I'm in the middle of a deep conversation with the person I love, I don't even hear those people.
No, but we're not even in deep conversation. It was like a passing thing.
Even if it was a passing thing.
Wow,
If I
okay.
am so absorbed into you, there is no way anybody can grab the attention. So what that slap was, I know I'm not a woman, right? But I think what that slap was to bring you back
To reality.
to reality and into her world where she was so engrossed into you, she probably wasn't hearing or seeing any other boys who were passing behind you.
Well, we'll talk about that later.
Okay, so she slaps you.
Yeah, she slapped me. And I laughed about it and all that stuff. But we had, after that time, we had spent some time together. And I got to find out she was a little bit materialistic. All she wants is me to buy this, buy that, and so on and so forth. And, one day I just woke up after having a sleepless night because it was troubling me that this girl was not... and I know I was getting close to the time when I would leave for the UK. And I was doing things, even though I was in uni at that time. I also had a few business ventures I was pursuing as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want someone who was just with me for material things. I wanted her to be someone who was part of my journey.
But let me just ask about material things. Was she openly saying, I want you to buy me a Louis Vuitton bag?
Well, no one knew what Louis Vuitton was back then in Nigeria.
Okay.
Well, at that time. But it was buy me, this cream, and the cream was bleaching cream.
So is that where the problem was?
It wasn't that. It was all about, there was no intellectual connection. And each time we meet is about going to this place to have fun, to go to a party. And, I want you to buy me this clothes. I want you to buy me this dress. I want you to buy me this cream. What are you bringing to your table?
So you would have rather she had more intellectual conversations with you and you had a deeper connection outside of buying me this and buying me that.
Absolutely.
So was there any scope in your conversations to make her say things that were more intellectual, or you felt she was too far gone and you couldn't reel her in?
Of course there was. I mean, she knew what I was about. She knew what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
I had a very close friend then who we were running, our business together, going from one place to another, trying to get contracts, trying to sell this and sell that. I had a pickup truck. Well, it wasn't my pickup truck. It was my dad's pickup truck. We just laid in the company there. Laid there in the compound, and what I did was to use that as a transportation vehicle to help farmers transport their goods from farms into the markets.
Yeah.
So that was bringing me money.
Mm-hmm.
While at the same time, I was pursuing other ventures. So she knew about all that stuff, and she knew that I came from a good family that was doing okay. And at the same time, I'm doing this. So it was more about, the material things for me than anything else.
Okay.
She was after.
So you went off to the UK and you called it off because you felt this is not going to go any further.
Yeah, I called it off. But I did go into another relationship just before I left for the UK. And that was the one I thought would have been the girl I married.
So at what point had you told Eve that we're no longer sharing this apple together?
It was about a year before I left for the UK.
So there was no intermingling between her and Jennifer?
No.
So there was a clear cut with Eve to say this. Okay, and then you went to... So Jennifer,
yes.
Where did you meet this Jennifer?
Jennifer was here in the UK, and Jennifer is more recent. I will probably say let's talk about Jennifer last.
Okay, so that means we're now going to talk about Iffy.
Yes.
Where does she come into the picture?
Ooh. I think we have to talk more about Eve before we
Mhm.
talk about Jennifer.
Okay, fire away.
Eve was my second wife.
Ah,
Jennifer, no, we're talking about Effie. Effie
Yeah.
was my first wife.
so you said goodbye to Eve,
Yeah.
and then you got with Effie.
Yes.
And what attracted you to Effie in the first place?
Effie, I met her through a friend, or
Mm.
someone who I thought was a friend. And we started a long distance relationship.
Where was she?
She was in Nigeria.
And by this time, you're in the UK.
I was in the UK.
Now, why didn't you go for a woman who would have been local to you?
Mistake. That's a mistake. And number two, I was trying to do what most people do.
Which is,
And I guess it was my influence around that time. The guys I was with, I was hanging around with that time at that point. What most of them, a few of them did was to get their wives from back home, thinking that they will be a lot more
easier to control.
not easier to control, but will maintain the values that we know of. And the issue was that a lot of guys were having was that a lot of women who left home, or left Africa or Nigeria, came over here and lost the values. They lost those traditional values that we know, or that we loved, or that we grew up with. Yeah.
So had you seen this happening before you got with Ify, that these women come and they lose their values?
Yes.
But now you're
I
gonna try it yourself.
had been with a few of them as well.
So now you're trying this for yourself. That doesn't add up. Do you see what I mean? You got a trend of men who are telling you,
But they did have successful marriages.
how do they have success? How do they have successful?
Because
marriages?
they were introduced to a woman back in Nigeria, and eventually they get married. They start that relationship. They have that long distance relationship. They travel, meet each other, and they get married, and they're still married till today.
So the loss in the values that you spoke about these women who got these great values in Nigeria, they fly to the UK, and then suddenly they lose the values. What was the significance of mentioning that? If we still have successful marriages,
that was what I thought. I thought, because the values were still intact, that we could obviously maintain that level of understanding that, okay, these are the values that I have, these are the values you have, we share this in common, so maybe that will be maintained in marriage, as opposed to some of the women who have been here and taken on Western culture, Western civilization, and all that stuff, and decide that, an African man who had values like that is something that they will find controlling. And that is something that I've experienced, where women have used that term control loosely. I think that's something that has driven me to make that mistake that in the past.
So Ify is in Nigeria, you're in the UK. I'm assuming at some point she eventually
joined me here.
After,
got married.
After how long, if you guys being in a long distance relationship?
Just about a year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Man couldn't wait, didn't it? It's like, no, let's get this thing rocking.
Just about a year.
Why were you so confident she was a good wife?
I'm going to say something that I think would... I'm a Jehovah's Witness.
Okay.
And we are always advised to marry within our circle, someone who shares the same faith with you.
Yes.
For obvious reasons that, for obvious reasons, so that you can maintain those spiritual values and so on and so forth. Now, that was the major driver.
The fact that you share the same faith.
The fact that we share the same faith. And I'm someone who trusts easily. I used to be someone who trusts easily, put it that way. And at that time, I didn't think that I could be scammed.
Why? Why did you think that?
Now, I wasn't familiar with the fact that a lot of people who are in Nigeria who marry people in the West
Mm-hmm.
do that because they want to leave Nigeria.
Oh.
So I didn't know that was happening. I didn't know that was a thing.
And you had no red flags from her at any point that
I
she might
didn't
become.
have any red flags. It was after we got married
Mm-hmm.
that the red flags started to appear. There was a distance. It was almost immediate because we came back to Nigeria together. To the UK together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was almost immediate that there was a distance tied to, materialize.
Explain, because you're now in the same house.
Yes, we're now in the same house.
So things should
Yes.
feel closer.
It should feel a lot closer, and I felt we should get a lot closer.
Mm.
But what was happening was that I still really don't understand it till this day fully, but there was a guy she was close to in Nigeria, and he would always call, and they would speak in their language, and I would not know what was going on. Now, I had met this guy, as a friend, he's supposed to be her friend, and I just took it at face value that they're just friends.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that I made a connection to was that when I was with them back, and this is a young guy as well, was that they were speaking in their language as well then, and I didn't understand it, Jack, what they were saying, and he will always call, and it started to get a little bit uncomfortable, and I said to her, "Why is he always calling? And whenever he calls, you're always speaking in your language."
But what time of day would he call?
Anytime.
Anytime. So he could call morning. You could call.
Maybe not late at night, but anytime.
Could he call at like 9 p.m.?
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah. So it was strange to me, but again, I was trying to be the good guy and not be overly suspicious.
But why would being suspicious be a bad guy? Because remember, I'll speak for myself.
That's because I'm trusting her to do the right thing.
I'll speak for myself here.
Yes.
If I'm feeling jealous about something, I will ask.
Absolutely.
Because you're my person.
Mm-hmm.
Being jealous, I think, is 100% okay. Being overbearing is not okay. There's a difference between being jealous and being possessive. That's the word I was looking for.
Yes.
So you asking questions would still hold you as a good guy, a good jealous guy, and jealousy is good. Even God is a jealous God.
Yes, you're right. You're right. Yeah, you're right.
But he's not possessive. So maybe you were afraid of coming across as being possessive, but in the meantime, you're not expressing your jealous quality, which is great. No woman doesn't want a guy that's not jealous. For the best part, they think, oh, this guy doesn't care about me.
Yeah, you're right about that.
So what really stopped you from asking her questions?
I did ask questions, don't get me wrong. I did ask the questions, but she became, a lot more, I guess he became a lot more cautious. And I was the one who was going to work then. So maybe a lot of the conversation happened when I wasn't at work. When I was at work, sorry, And, I want to facilitate, I want to move fast, through, FA. We're married for only about a year and 10 months.
Like
a year and 10 months. And
who called it off?
It wasn't about who called it off. It was about the way it was going, because what I started to notice was that a lot of my documents, passports, and bills were being photocopied. And how did I find out? I found out because sometimes when you print on the printer,
yeah,
it leaves markers on the paper that's left behind. And that's how I saw trace of, I saw, how do I describe that? There was an imprint of my passport on the paper that's left behind.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I started suspecting that there was something going on that I didn't understand. And we kind of started going, gap was separating. We were having gaps, and she wasn't having sex with me, as much as we used to.
Why?
I don't know. Because I want to of course I want to have sex. I'm a man and I'm married to someone who I feel I should be fulfilling that, desire with. But the few times that we've had sex, it was too monotonous and it was a lack of interest. And for me, that's a turn off.
On whose part? On her part?
On her part, yes.
So you'd say, hey, babe, I'm feeling the type of way, etc., etc.
Yeah, and she'd be like, I'm not in the mood, this and that. I have a headache,
Yeah.
And even sometimes when she, does it, I need to feel chemistry. That chemistry wasn't there.
So I've read that sex for a lot of women is really in the mind. So it begins with how the day has been, not the moment that as men we feel want to have it now. So
I understand that.
So
yes,
my question then is directed to you in the sense that what were you doing to get her ready so that she doesn't have to say she's got a headache?
Come on now, and if it's sex, man, I know how to play my game. I understand the whole foreplay thing. I know what to do to, get you aroused, and I know it all starts with the mind, so for me, it's not something that I just want to have and just go to sleep. No, it's something that I want to enjoy that chemistry, and it doesn't just end with just penetration and that's it. It has to start with, the whole romance, the whole, physical attraction with the mind as well, that there's some kind of playfulness involved and so on and so forth.
Was she attracted to you?
In hindsight, I don't know. And that's the truth. I don't know. Because if she was attracted to me, then she would still be here.
Hey, that's deep, man.
Yeah, she would still be here. I was attracted to her.
What was going on with the passports being photocopied, etc., etc.? Did you eventually find out?
Her brother eventually came into the country, so that's one.
Mm-hmm.
And when the marriage eventually, we separated. We weren't going our separate ways, but she used the separation as an opportunity to fast track what she was about.
Was she bringing that boy over? The one?
Yeah. Well, I don't know what happened there. I don't know what happened there. But what fascinated me was the fact that when we were going our separate ways and having those issues, our parents, her family, who were people who seemed to like me, not at one point did they come in to ask what's going on.
You used the word "seem to like you." Is it because in hindsight you now got the feeling they actually didn't like you?
I was just a means to an end.
So this thing was bigger than just Iffy.
It was bigger than
it wasn't just her, it was a whole.
Yes.
Jeez.
Yes.
What did that do to your confidence? Anything? To your trust? Because you mentioned
at that time.
You mentioned you're generally a very trusting fella.
At that time, I went the other way. And when I said I went, no, I didn't go gay. Hell no! Hell no!
I really didn't know which way that was going to go.
No, hell no. Let me clarify that. I would never in God's green earth ever. No way. That is the most disgusting thing ever. And I can say that here because my name is not out there. It's the most disgusting thing. Homosexuality is the most disgusting demonic thing ever.
Oh dear. So which way did you go then?
Now, I decided to go against my own values, and that's where Eve came back into my life. She's not a Jehovah's Witness.
Okay.
Yes. So I went and got married to someone who didn't share the same faith with me. And that was another mistake.
Yeah.
Yes. And the reason I went back to FA was I kind of felt like we had some unfinished business. I hate to use that term, unfinished business, but I kind of felt like, we were young then.
You mean Eve? You just said FA.
Eve, sorry, Eve. Yeah, so I mean Eve. Yeah, so Eve, yes.
And where was Eve at this point? Still back in...
It was in Nigeria, yes.
You like this thing of
man,
going back home,
I used to love my Nigerian women. I've always said I love black women first.
Yeah.
I used to. Not anymore. Knowing what I know now. Sorry, black women. I'm not putting you down though.
You know that a good 95% of listeners of this podcast are black people.
They will understand why I'm saying this eventually.
So, right.
But I'm make no apologies about this. I think I've come a long way since all these experiences. I've come a long way, yes. And my attitude towards life right now is not to operate at a local level.
Yeah.
And when I say that is I recognize where I'm at.
Mm.
Some of the things I was doing right, back in the days was just being driven by my background, by how I was brought up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I was always running back home to Nigeria. I was trying to make investments in Nigeria. It goes wrong. But how can I be here and control what happens back home or control people that... It would never work.
It will never work. Never.
It would never work.
Never.
So I had to eventually, number one, understand that this is where I'm at. And really ask myself questions. Do I belong back home?
Mm-hmm.
Who am I?
Mm-hmm.
What's my level of experience now? How have I developed by the things that have shaped my life up until now? Do certain people in my inner circle really need to be in my inner circle? Are we at the same level?
Yep.
The people I run to, do we understand each other? And the answer was no.
Mm.
And that's why after my first 2 marriages, it's the longest time I've ever been single.
Yeah.
Yeah. Until Jennifer. But
it doesn't sound like with Eve, when you went back, it lasted very long.
It did last long.
Oh, it did?
It was a 7-year marriage.
Ooh.
Yes. And it was a 7-year marriage where I have 2 kids. Yeah. It was 7 years of hell.
Oh, wow.
The worst relationship I've ever been in my entire life.
What happened there?
Woo. Wow. I can't put 7 years into 30 minutes, but I think this time around, I really saw what I didn't want in a wife. And she reminds me a lot about my mother.
What's your relationship with your mother like?
I haven't spoken to my mother for about 3-4 years now. I'll come to that later, maybe.
Mm.
I saw my mother disrespect my dad a lot.
Mm.
She would call him names, like disgusting names I can't even mention. My dad was a main breadwinner. And most times my dad would take it on the chin. I mean, when I was younger and all that stuff, my parents never had a good relationship right up until this day. I'm 40-something.
Mm.
I've never seen my dad and mom hold hands. I've never seen my dad and mom embrace or hug each other. I've never seen my dad and mom sleep in the same bedroom.
What?
I've never seen my dad and mom kiss each other. Yes. And when my mom is not happy about stuff, I mean, I'm not saying my dad was perfect or he got things right. There are things I didn't agree with.
Yeah.
But the approach, and I didn't know a lot being a young child growing up then. But what I saw in my soul as a child, I knew was wrong the way my mom was talking to my dad.
Mm.
I didn't know what my dad was doing. That was wrong. But all I know was that he provided for the family and he did his best to do it.
Mm.
Yeah. And he did well. So I felt when my, second wife was in the picture, she reminded me a lot about my mother, because the things that my mom would do to my dad was what she did to me. In front of my kids, she will insult me, call me names, compare me to friends. He's got a BMW, I don't have a BMW.
Mm.
Remember if he was the one who was materialistic when I was younger.
Imagine. Can you imagine that?
So, thinking that I was marrying her and that she had changed and she's a lot mature now. Those things didn't change. And it was even later, I started finding out stuff that, she was a little bit around town.
What does that mean?
Yeah, before I married her, different men, for material things. And there was one thing, even before we got married, there was, she did say to me that she was with a married man.
That she had an affair with a married man?
Yes,
And was this whilst you guys were dating? Or after you got married?
It was whilst we were dating. I mean, no, it was, while we were dating, she said she was, and she was no longer with him.
Mm-hmm.
That it ended. And I asked her why she was doing that. She was like, well, he takes care of me.
Yo.
Materially, money-wise, obviously.
Yeah, and she's always been material, materialistic. So for her, it felt like it was second nature too.
Yeah, I didn't know. I kind of felt like, okay, she's probably a different person right now, but obviously not.
Let's just talk red flags. That's a huge red flag there.
Yeah, I missed it, and I missed it, and that's probably me again, giving benefit of the doubt and being trusting. Yeah.
Okay.
But the thing I would like to say is, like, I mean, even though, it's over now, but I felt that the one regret I have about that marriage is the fact that I gave my kids the worst gift ever.
Which is?
And that's the mother I gave them. And I've, it's kind of made me think, wow, if we have to think about our choices before we make them, we'll probably make better decisions. So it's important to, if we're thinking about getting into a marriage, ask ourselves the question, is this person I'm going to get married to going to be a good gift to my unborn children? So that's my only regret.
Now, you're married for 7 years?
Yes.
Is that correct? Within the first year, you didn't pick up any red flags that this could go downhill for the next 6 years?
Are you joking me? Within 6 months.
So how did it then stretch to 7 years of a marriage?
I'm not someone who believes in a divorce, man. I've done it once and I didn't want it to happen again. And obviously within the first year, she got pregnant. I didn't want to walk away. But
you didn't want to walk away, or you wanted to walk away?
I didn't want to just walk away.
Because you got a child coming and then you wanted to support the child.
Yes. And then also I'm a believer in trying to make it work. And that's what I was trying to do. But I felt like I was hitting my head against a brick wall.
Tell me some of those red flags in the first 6 months you saw.
Isolating me from my friends.
She said
isolating me from my family.
You couldn't see your friends, couldn't see your family?
No, she was always, causing, making it impossible. Not to stop seeing my friends, but to say this person is not good for me, this person is not good for my, it's just trying to create barriers between me and my friends and people I know. And these are people who also welcomed her as well. And we're talking about families here, not girlfriends or female friends and things like that. We're talking about families. people who truly love me.
Mm.
And when we have minor issues, she will take those issues and go talk to people that she had just met, locally here. And she was building friendship with people
But
who
not-
I felt I need to say this. She was building friendship with people who I felt were jealous of her status. When she got married to me, I wasn't a cleaner or security guard. I was doing well.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing very well. And some of the people she was having as friends were not people who were married to people that were doing as good as I am.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, what the hell are you doing letting these people get into your head? Or is it a case that you never really wanted to be in a serious relationship? And she had told me at one point that she never wanted to really get married. All she wants to have a man to have a child with. And I thought all those things were just stupid talks.
So, at what point is she saying this? Before marriage?
So this was before marriage. No.
Lord of
So
mercy.
we had married. No, sorry.
Mm.
We had married. We had gotten married when she said that.
So already by now she has a whole husband,
Yes.
and that comes out of her mouth.
That comes out of her mouth. Oh my goodness. Is that all that came out of her mouth? To the point that her family was, her family, because I'm someone who is, even though I have some traditional values in me, but there's some things I don't take.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like my own family comes first
Mhm.
before anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that should be given more priority. So people back home and all that stuff will come second or even third.
Mm-hmm.
So my resources first is to my family.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to be sending my money back home to even the way I would treat my family, my own parents is the same way I'll treat your parents. So I kind of felt like her family back home were not getting what they thought they would be getting, which is my money.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Because they had advised her, and this is someone who had just come into the country, they had advised her to leave me. And this is my ex telling me this. Wait, hold on. They had advised her to leave me and go to the government, that they will give her a house and give her money.
Yeah.
So, and you know the funny thing is that all this will happen as she will come and tell me these things with her own mouth. So
you said something very interesting. You said a lot of things were, done and said to your dad, and you took it on the chin.
yes,
You seem to be taking a lot on the chin.
I did.
Is it something you learned from your dad?
My dad has said to me once that women have a way they behave.
Mm.
Sometimes you just have to let them be and just take it on the chin. So maybe that stuck with me subconsciously somehow. That was then, not now.
So 6 months in, she gives you this wahala.
She was pregnant already
Now-
then within 6 months.
You didn't waste time, brother.
Well, she wanted to, each month that goes by, she was like, I'm seeing my period. Why am I seeing my period? Every single month that goes by, it's like, why am I seeing my period?
So you were actively trying to have a baby.
I wasn't in a hurry to have a baby, but she was, obviously.
But when you were having sex, were you ejaculating in it?
Of course I was.
So you were kind of prepared to...
I was prepared either way it goes.
Brother, you got a woman chatting very difficult things to stomach. You are getting ready to give life, which eventually does happen.
But
She gets
these
pregnant.
things obviously didn't come out within the first month. It was a period of time. So some of what I've said to you just didn't all happen at once.
Okay.
I'm trying to condense the whole
Yeah,
7
yeah.
years into
Lord of
into a bit.
mercy.
yeah. But within the first few months,
Mm.
yeah, there were a few red flags,
Mhm.
but it wasn't enough for me to.
So you've given me just the one red flag, which is isolation from friends. And obviously I know there's this talk that she's having back and forth, about how you need to get a house quickly, etc., etc. What other red flags did you see? I get the sense there was another man somewhere.
I don't know. And the reason I say I don't know is there were several situations. Well, okay, what I'm going to say now, obviously, that didn't happen in the first 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a man somewhere. I don't know how long he's been there for, and it was supposed to be this oil baron who deals in crude oil in Nigeria and all that stuff. Who has always wanted to marry her. And then I was still married, and then her mother was saying to her that this man is still interested in you. So I don't know how
Jesus.
that, for me, I'm like, this is just ridiculously stupid. We're already married. Why would somebody who's married or, still be interested in someone who...
And furthermore entertaining that kind of conversation from her mum.
Yes.
Because what is that really saying about your marriage?
Yes. And I was going to say something, which I did touch on earlier about the fact that, her family has said to her that she can leave me and go. Government will take care of her. So obviously there must have been some kind of conversation going on between her and her family.
Out of curiosity, how was your wedding day?
It was okay.
They were supportive?
Yeah, her mother was there. Her brother was there, although he died now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about gifts and money? Did they give any of that?
No one gave anything. I sponsored the whole thing.
Yo.
Yeah.
That's another telling sign right there.
It was it's something I'm leaving out. Let me go back into it. So when I was getting ready to get married to my first wife, FA, I had a lot of backlash from my family, particularly my mother. She didn't want me to.
Did she say why?
Because of the part of town she comes from.
Lord have mercy.
I'm not someone who judge people by where they come from.
Yeah.
But obviously that was a big issue for my mother. It wasn't for my dad. My dad is very open, he's very open-minded and doesn't judge people that way. But obviously sometimes he just kept quiet just to appease my mother and goes along with things. But she fought tooth and nail to make sure I didn't get married to her without listening to me. And I felt that if they had taken time to listen to me and talk to me, if you deal with me if you deal with me with aggression, you won't get the best out of me. I'll just go ahead and do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I just cut them off and went ahead and got married without them. And then come my second marriage, I didn't invite any of them. I just did it without my family. Because I didn't want any of that drama. And knowing what I know, I knew it would be drama.
That's heavy.
I'm a heavy man.
That is heavy. To think that you didn't have your family supporting you and then the woman that you then ended up with,
I still don't regret it.
Ends up being what she was.
I feel at the end of the day, I just have to be the one to carry my own load. Whether family supports me or not, I'm the one that's going to wear the shoe. So if I do it wrong, then I'll learn from it. If I do it right, fine. I still learn from it.
You said that you gave your kids the worst gift possibly ever, which is their mother.
Yes.
What really makes you say that?
I'm a better parent. I show my daughters love, and I've always taught them one thing: never to tell a lie. But their mother would get them to tell lies to me, to cover up things.
Such as?
I'll just go into the biggest one.
Yeah.
I'm still it's one that I'm going to deal with legally. When we divorced, there was a court order in place, and that court order, stipulated the terms of, how the children will spend time with their parents. And one of the limitations of that order was that they would not be taken out of school or doctors or whatever
Mm-hmm.
you know. She had taken them out of the doctors and all that stuff, and I didn't even know which doctor they had been changed to. I eventually found out, and I walked into that GP's practice to find out why they were taken out of their previous GP, and there was a court order in place that wasn't supposed to happen without my knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to find out what was going on in their medical records.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor, went through the file and was like, "Oh, okay. I can see here that there is an allegation of sexual abuse by the father."
What?
The first thing I did was laugh. That they questioned the children, but the children said it was not true. So their mother had tried to get my daughters to tell the doctors that I sexually abused them. At that time, she wanted full custody of the children so she can get more money from the government. And it just showed me how far she would go to ruin me for material things. And this is the same woman who, from young age, had been materialistic and was going to sacrifice her own children, use them as as pawns to get whatever it is she wants. So that's a deformation of my character. But you know what was interesting about that? I just taken my case to school that day,
Mm.
and I just thought, let me stop by this GP. I've never been there before. I don't know. Maybe it's God's spirit that led me there to go find out.
Mm.
And that happened. And I did ask my older daughter, my younger one, she was very young then. She didn't really understand what was going on. And my older daughter did say, yes, that mommy said to say that I did that, to say to the doctor that I did this. But she said, that she didn't say that because that is not true.
And because you've also taught them never to lie.
I've always taught them never to tell. Till this day,
Mm.
I always say to them, never tell a lie no matter what. Because you could hurt someone or hurt yourself. And if you tell a lie and cover stuff about you, I won't be able to protect you if you lie to me about stuff. So if you want me to protect you, you have to always be truthful. That's always what I always, till this day, that's something I teach them. And that is one thing that broke my marriage up with my ex. We lived in the same house we were in that house for years, but at one point we started living as strangers in the house. I went and lived in the upper room. And for 2 years, without intercourse, at that point I switched off.
Mm.
And that's the thing is, when I switch off, you can't get me back, no matter what. And she would try. At that point, she was like, I want a divorce, go get the divorce, I want to get out, I'm like, go get the papers, come on, I will sign it for you. But we need to do things properly for the children. You can go your way, it's fine. Because I know I'm done as well.
Yeah.
But eventually when, she wasn't doing it, I went and got a lawyer, got the paper served. And what happened when I got the paper served? What happened?
Mm.
She came begging
For what?
that she doesn't want a divorce. Like, excuse me, but you've been telling me for years and months that you want to get out. I'm sorry, at this point in time, there's no way. I'm coming back to you. Let's just plan. I will pay for a house for you, but I want stability for the children. I'll pay for a house for you and that. I'll go my way. Only for me to come back home 5th of December, 2015.
Mm-hmm.
That day was a strange day. I was leaving the house for work that morning. my younger daughter, didn't want to let go. There was an energy that wasn't right. I didn't understand it. She couldn't speak. She was probably about 2. She held on to me like she was screaming, crying. My older daughter was just there with her as well. We were all looking very strange. There was something not right. And I asked their mother, what's wrong with her? Well, I asked her. Obviously, at that time, there was tension. This was 7 years into the marriage. So I left to go. I consoled her, got into the car.
Mm.
And I could hear her screaming from outside. And I go back inside.
Mm.
Like, it's okay. I'm going to call you at lunchtime and all that stuff, Anyway, I went for work. I called at lunchtime, no answer. But, I used to always think that there's a day I'm going to come back home and she will be gone with the kids. And that day I came home, she had gone. She had left with the kids.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of planning that she did. She had eventually mustered up the courage with the help of friends.
Friends in quotes.
Evil friends.
Mm.
Yeah, in quote. Because guess what she did?
Mm.
Because at that time, she wouldn't have British passport. She had gotten an indefinite state, leave to remain.
Mm-hmm.
But the lawyer advised me not to sign the papers for the passport at that point in time because we were going our separate ways, which I listened to her and I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And she wanted me to sign it. I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't do that now that we're going our separate ways. But I would have still done it if the temperament was right.
Which it wasn't at this point.
It wasn't.
Mm.
And what she did when she left home was to go into a refuge for women who are
And in domestic abuse
violence.
or something.
Yes.
That's
what she did. And that was the only way she could get it without my signature. And that broke my heart because I offered to pay for her accommodation for her.
Mm.
That you would drag the children to that level. They were in private school. You took them out of private school. I was paying thousands every year for private school fees.
Mm.
One of the best schools here.
Mm.
Took them out. And they never went back there. So that's what I mean by the worst gift I gave my children was their mother. Till this day. So my makeup for that is to continue loving them and doing the best for that. Doing the best. And that's why no woman will cross that barrier to get into my life.
Yeah.
No, none. There's so many. My tolerance level is so low right now for stupidity. And my lessons from my previous experiences
Have taught you
taught me a lot. I don't care how beautiful you are, how stunning you are. If you're not bringing something of value to the table, get out. You won't even get to 3 months in my life in a relationship.
Makes sense because you got things that are way more important to protect.
Absolutely.
Right
I've got
now.
so much more to lose now than ever. And I've built so much more being a single man now than with anybody I've been with in a relationship. So if you're not coming to the table, you're not coming to this table to build on top of what I'm building, don't come close because I'll spit you out.
And you've gone from one end to the other.
That's life.
Where does that leave Jennifer then?
Jennifer I thought she would be the one. She was my doctor.
Why are you laughing?
She was my... my relationship with Jennifer was... I thought she would have been the one. She was the last Nigerian I ever dated. That's why she came into the picture. And I thought she would be the one to prove me wrong.
How long were you guys together?
6 months. So she actually did so for her to be 6 months, so what made me break up with Jennifer was the fact that
Before that,
yes.
where was she? Was she in the same country?
Oh no, she was yeah.
You're still the same thing. You're still going back home.
No. She was here. She was here.
Hey, thank God.
She was here. I didn't go back home again. I didn't go back home again.
Okay.
No, she was here. I met her here. Yeah.
And
so
this is after the whole thing.
after
with-
the whole thing.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
After
yeah.
the whole thing. Yes. So
So what happened there?
I liked her. She was nice. I felt she was nice.
So why did you?
She
break
was
up?
Nigerian, but she was Nigerian that grew up here. You know, she was born here. Well, not born here, but she was here from a baby. So she was pretty much here all her life. Yeah. So the mindset was a bit different, which is where we kind of worked. You know, well, we're better off compared to others. Ooh, she did something that, yeah.
What did she do?
She had come to visit one time, and my daughters were with me, and I left her with them, go to work, and thought they were everything was cool. So she had gone back to where she lives and all that stuff, only for me to get, and then my kids had gone back to their mother. Then, only for me to get a message from my ex-wife saying, "How dare your girlfriend smack my daughter?" I didn't know that anything had gone wrong. So I eventually asked her, because I told her how vicious this ex of mine is.
Yeah.
Eve. So for her to allow anything or give that woman an excuse to, poke finger at me in any way was just uncalled for. She was trying to explain to me that that she didn't really smack her, that she was jumping on the bed while, she was trying to make the bed, and then all she did was, smack her on the bum. I'm like, oh, God, how dare you do that? And you're even the medical doctor. How dare you do that? Why didn't you tell me? The fact that she didn't tell me
was already red flags enough for you to say there's a reason why you didn't tell me.
Why didn't you tell me so I know how to deal with this and be ready for it? So I was taken by surprise.
What was the answer to that question?
She was like, she thought everything was okay, that she took them out that day and bought them a few things.
So just because I've taken you out, everything suddenly is okay?
Yeah. So my ex, the mother of the kids, called the police. The police came in, became a police matter. I'm like, why did you give her that opportunity?
Yeah.
So I tried to keep it. I couldn't live with it. I thought into the future. I'm like, I will always have this thought that I can't trust you with the kids.
Yeah. True.
And the fact that you're even a medical doctor, anything close to that, it's not something you should do. So I that and a few other things that I noticed was she didn't have a really good relationship with her father.
Right.
And that was a red flag for me. And I kind of felt like she was trying to. I was asking myself a question: Are you trying to fulfill two purposes in me? Me play a fatherly role to you, and also the man that you're in a relationship with. So something wasn't right there. And I had said to her, you need to go and make peace with your father. The fact that he wants to make peace with you. And one thing she did that I felt that was so wrong and disrespectful was the fact that when her dad was trying to make peace with her after their mother split, and he split with their mother, calling her father by the first name in the letter, I felt that was very disrespectful as Africans. So that was a red flag for me.
Yeah.
I dare not call my father by his first name or my mother. I don't care how. Yeah.
How tense things are. They still deserve that respect.
Yes. And being that you're Nigerian, you should know those things. And I always feel there's always two sides to the story, even three sides. So yeah. So that was the end of Jennifer. till this day.
Yeah. I am absolutely speechless. But I get why you would have made the comment about being with black women.
Yes.
No, not that I'm saying that I condone it, etc., but it explains your position.
Yes.
It explains your experience. It explains your point of view. So does this mean that you don't look in the direction of a black woman at all?
At this point in time, I'm not looking in that direction.
Are you looking in the direction of any other women of a different race?
I mean, I'm open to. I mean, if I do meet a black woman who is, who meets my expectations, because there has to be expectations.
Mm-hmm.
People tell you all this stupidity about when you don't have expectations when you're going to. You have to have
Yeah,
standards.
you have to.
You have to have expectations. You know, and I do have some.
Mm.
So, given my level right now,
Mm-hmm.
damn, I want someone who's got a lot of value to bring. You know, you got to be stunning. I don't care. You know, I deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in many ways, not just physically, but mentally.
Mm.
When we have a conversation, I want you to be able to hold me in a conversation.
Mm.
When I go out with you, with my friends, people I deal with, you got to be able to hold your own. And when I look at the people in my circle, they're not chicken, you're not small people. You need to be able to have your I'm talking about people who are high profile. So if you cannot stand, you know,
Your own, then
yeah. You know, and this is where I find that some black women struggle
Mm-hmm.
because black people in general,
Mm-hmm.
because they tend to stick to their own kind, as they say, you know, their own circles, people they're familiar with, people from their own background. I think we should be able to, like I said earlier, this is where we are.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's grow from here.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, the world is our stage right now.
Yeah, yeah. Amadi, that was a lot to consume. That was a lot. I felt the compression of the 7-year marriage. I feel like there's so much more could have delved into, but you know, you did the best you could, and I appreciate it.
Yes.
So just to play back the lessons that have come through from this episode, first up, listen to yourself. And I think it became very clear what you were saying to yourself in all of these. Lesson number 2, assess every situation you encounter. And I think you have enough.
I think that is I think that's the most essential, you know, assessing every situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I say assess this situation in relation to your own purpose as an individual.
So an internal reflection of what you want versus what the world is giving you.
Yes. Where do you want to go?
And then listening to yourself to say, yes, I'm going this way or I'm not going that way.
Yes.
So those 2 lessons really do tie in very, very nicely.
Absolutely, yes.
And then last but not least, just be the driver of your own destiny, not family, not friends, not colleagues, not material things, nothing.
I come from a big family.
Mm.
I'm the black sheep, you can say, because I do things my own way.
Mm.
I'm not doing it for my father, my mother, and all that stuff. And like I said earlier, is that I would challenge my dad on something that he's done wrong. I will do the same thing to my mother. I will do the same to any of my siblings. But they don't want to listen to me. It's fine. But don't come running back to me.
When shit hits the fan.
When shit hits the fan. You know, so, and they know now not to tell me how to live my life. I'm not that young boy anymore. You know, and that used to be the case.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm in control of where I'm going.
Yeah.
Not anyone.
Amadi, thank you so much for an incredible episode, honestly. Thank you so much. I think we're going to break bread. I'm going to ask you to come home and sit down. We get into this a little deeper because, hey, these waters run deep, man.
It does run deep.
No,
and, you know, there's a lot I could have shared here, but we've only got a few minutes to talk about a lot that's happened in the last 20, 30, 40 years of my life.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, sir.
It's been a pleasure. It's been therapeutic as well.
Hey, that's what they say. But honestly, it's you've told it very well, and I know I'm gonna have a lot to think about as I drive home. because I can't get that line out of my head that you've given your daughters the worst present ever, which is their mum. It's just so deep. So deep. Probably going to give you a call tomorrow, just to digest that because, oof.
Yes.
Yeah.
I live with that every day.
Yeah. But you've been listening to another episode of The Feeling Station. I'm your host, Tinto, and I look forward to catching you in next weekend's episode. Peace.
Tell me what you're feeling.
Sati's undaro raini and chake zaini.
Tell me what you're feeling. Now that it's over.
Sati's undaro raini and chake zaini.
Let me talk about my feelings. Let me talk about my feelings, yeah.
Urudoi motoru noto kujidziro amai.
Kujidziro amai. Love is a fire.
Urudoi motoru noto kujidziro amai.